Good morning, ladies. Happy Friday. I hope this message finds you well. Yep, working from home today. Have to drop off little mom a little bit to Aunt Sue's. She's not like biologically her aunt. It's my boyfriend's aunt, and she's been around Scarlett's, and Scarlett, 10 months old? 11 months old, so Scarlett knows no different other than that's her Aunt Sue. And she has so much fun there, but she'll have some fun there while I get some conference calls and things done today because I really need to get them done. I don't like to be behind. I don't like to be pressed for anything. As you further get to know me, I try my best each day, and that's what God asks us to do. You can't bless lazy. So here I am showing up. We're going to do our Bible study today. Bible studies on Exodus chapters 38 through 40. And I believe, yes, chapter 40 is our last chapter for Exodus. So that means we've finished 2 books so far, year to date. So it's awesome. Hopefully you're growing in the Word as I am, and it's making you think, because it's been making me think a lot about things, even more than what I was already thinking about, especially with everything that's going on in today's world. So yeah, this makes me feel better. This gives me the guide. So hopefully it works for you. If it doesn't, lean in, because it will. God works in mysterious ways, that's for dang sure. So let's begin. Exodus verse 1 begins like this. He made the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was its length and 5 cubits its width. It was square, and its height was 3 cubits. He made its horns on its 4 corners. The horns were of one piece with it. And he overlaid it with bronze, and he made all the utensils for the altar, the pans, the shovels, the basins, the forks, and the fire pans. All its utensils he made of bronze. And he made a grate of bronze network for the altar, under its rim midway from the bottom. He cast 4 rings for the 4 corners of the bronze grating as holders for the poles, and he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. Then he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar with which to bear it. He made the altar hollow with boards. Verse 8, he made the laver of bronze and its base of bronze from the bronze mirrors of the serving women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle meeting. Verse 9, then he made the court on the south side. The hangings of the court were fine woven linen, 100 cubits long. There were 20 pillars for them with 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. On the north side, the hangings were 100 cubits long, with 20 pillars and their 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver, and on the west side there were hangings of 50 cubits, with 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. For the east side, the hangings were 50 cubits. The hangings of one side of the gate were 50 cubits long, with their 3 pillars and 3 sockets, and the same for the other side of the court gate. On this side and that were hangings of 15 cubits, with 3 pillars and 3 sockets. All the hangings of the court all around were of fine woven linen. The sockets for the pillars were bronze, the hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver, and the overlay of their capitals was silver, and all the pillars of the court had bands of silver. Verse 18, the screen for the gate of the court was woven of blue, purple, and scarlet red, in fine woven linen. The length was 20 cubits, and the height along its width was 5 cubits, corresponding to the hangings of the court. And there were 4 pillars with 4 sockets of bronze. Their hooks were silver, and the overlay of their capitals and their bands was silver. All the pegs of the tabernacle and of the court all around were bronze. Verse 21, this is the inventory of the tabernacle of testimony, which was counted according to the commandment of Moses, for the service of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that the Lord had commanded Moses, and with him Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer, a weaver of blue, purple, and scarlet red in a fine linen. All the gold was used in all the work of the holy place, that is, the gold of the offering, was 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. And the silver from those who were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. Verse 26, a bekah for each man, that is, half a shekel, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone included in the numbering from 20 years old and above, for 603,550 men. And from the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary and the bases of the veil, 100 sockets from the 100 talents, 1 talent for each socket. Then from 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, overlaid their capitals, and made bands for them. Verse 29, the offering of the bronze was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. And with it he made the sockets for the door of the tabernacle of meeting, the bronze altar, the bronze grating for it, and all the utensils for the altar. The sockets for the court all around, the bases for the court gate, and all the pegs for the tabernacle, and all the pegs for the court all around. We are now in Exodus chapter 39. We're going to be making the garments of the priesthood and making apparently a lot of things before the work is completed. So, Exodus, verse 1 goes like this. Need some coffee, sorry. Of the blue, purple, and scarlet thread, they made garments of ministry for ministering in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet red, and of fine woven linen. Verse 3, and they beat the gold into thin sheets and cut it into threads to work it in with the blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and the fine linen into artistic designs. They made shoulder straps for it to couple it together. It was coupled together as its two edges, and the intricately woven band of its ephod that was on it was the same workmanship, woven of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and a fine woven linen as the Lord has commanded Moses. And they set onyx stones enclosed in the settings of gold. They were engraved as signets are engraved with the names of the sons of Israel. He put them on the shoulder of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel, for the sons of Israel, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Verse 8, and he made the breastplate artistically woven like the workmanship of the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. They made the breastplate square by doubling it. A span was its length, and a span its width when doubled. And they set in it 4 rows of stones. A row with a sardius, a topaz, and an emerald was the first row. The second row a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed in the settings of gold and in their mountings. There were 12 stones according to the name of the sons of Israel, according to their names engraved like a signet, each one of its own name according to the 12 tribes. And they made chains through the breastplate at the end, like braided cords of pure gold. They made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 braided chains of gold and the 2 rings on the end of the breastplate. Verse 18, the 2 ends of the 2 braided chains they fastened in the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in the front. And they made 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate, on the edge of it, which was the inward side of the ephod. They made 2 other gold rings, and put them on 2 shoulder straps, underneath the ephod toward its front, right as the seam above the intricately woven band of the ephod. And they bound the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod with a blue cord, so that it would be above the intricately woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate would not come loose for the ephod, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Verse 22, he made the robe of the ephod of woven work, olive blue, and there was an opening in the middle of the robe, like the opening in the coat of mail, with a woven binding all around the opening, so that it would not tear. They made on the hem of the robe pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet, and of fine woven linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates on the hem of the robe, all around between the pomegranates. Verse 26, a bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe to minister in, as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made tunics artistically woven of fine linen for Aaron and his sons. turban of fine linen, exquisite hats of fine linen, short trousers of fine woven linen, and a sash of fine woven linen with blue, purple, and scarlet thread made by a weaver, as the Lord has commanded Moses. Verse 30, then they made the plate of the holy crown of pure gold and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving of a signet, holy, saying, holiness to the Lord. Verse 31, and they tied it to a blue cord to fasten it above on the turban, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Thus all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of the meeting was finished, and the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so they did. And they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent and all its furnishings, its clasps, its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets, the covering of rams' skins dyed red, the covering of the badger skins, and the veil of the covering, the ark of the testimony with its poles, and the mercy seat, the table, all its utensils, and the showbread, the pure gold lampstand with its lamps, the lamps set in order, of course, all its utensils, the oil for light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, the screen for the tabernacle door. Verse 39, the bronze altar, its grate of bronze, its poles, and all its utensils, the laver with its base, the hangings of the court, its pillars and its sockets, the screen for the court gate, its cords and its pegs, all the utensils for the service of the tabernacle for the tent of meeting, and the garments of ministry to minister in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and his sons' garments to minister as priests. Verse 42, according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did all the work. Then Moses looked over all the work, and indeed they had done it, as the Lord had commanded, just so they had done it, and Moses blessed them. We are in our last chapter, chapter 40, and verse 1 goes like this. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. You shall put it in the ark of the testimony, and the partition off the ark with the veil. You shall bring in the table and arrange the things that are to be set in order on it. You shall bring in the lampstand and light its lamps. Verse 5, you shall also set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put up the screen for the door of the tabernacle. Then you shall set the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. And you shall set the laver between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. You shall set up the court all around, and hang up the screen at the court gate. Verse 9, and you shall take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and all that is in it. And you shall hallow it and all its utensils, and it shall be holy. You should anoint the altar of the burnt offerings and all its utensils, and consecrate the altar. The altar shall be most holy. You shall anoint the laver and its base, and consecrate it. Verse 12, then you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and wash them with water. You shall put the holy garments on Aaron, and anoint him, and consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priests. And you shall bring his sons, and clothe them with tunics. Verse 15, you shall anoint them, as you anointed their father, that they may minister to me as priests, for their anointing shall surely be an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations. Thus Moses did, according to all that the Lord had commanded him, so he did. And it came to pass in the first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, the tabernacle was raised up. So Moses raised up the tabernacle, fastened its sockets, set up its boards, put in its bars, and raised up its pillars. And he spread out the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent on top of it, as the Lord has commanded Moses. Verse 20, he took the testimony and put it in the ark, inserting the poles to the rings of the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, hung up the veil of the covering, and partitioned off the ark of the testimony, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He put the table in the tabernacle of meeting on the north side of the tabernacle, outside the veil. And he set the bread in order upon it before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Verse 24, he put the lampstand in the tabernacle of meeting across from the table on the south side of the tabernacle. And he lit the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He put the gold altar in the tabernacle of meeting in front of the veil. And he burned sweet incense on it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He hung up the screen at the door of the tabernacle, and he put the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered upon it the burnt offering and the grain offering, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Verse 30, he set the laver between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and put water there for washing. And Moses and Aaron and his sons would wash their hands and their feet with water from it. Whenever they went into the tabernacle of meeting, and when they came near the altar, they washed, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he braced up all the court, all around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung up the screen of the court gate. So Moses finished the work. Verse 34, then the cloud covered the tabernacle of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle of meeting because the cloud rested above it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Whether the cloud was taken up from above the tabernacle, the children of Israel will go onward in all their journeys. Verse 37, but if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not journey till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was above the tabernacle by day, and the fire was over it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all of their journeys. And that's it, ladies, for today's Bible study. We will begin Leviticus on Monday. I hope you have an awesome weekend. Let's get this day going. Let's finish it strong. Talk to you soon. Be blessed. Stay encouraged.